A blessed evening to everyone, especially to those of you who are joining us through our live stream Mass here at the Shrine of Jesus, the Divine Word. St. Paul, in his letter to Timothy, second letter to Timothy, said once, "Preach the Word. Be prepared in season and out of season." That was his instruction to his disciple Timothy in charge of a community. And the proclamation of God's good news knows no special place nor time. Such perspective can be seen already in the very life example of Jesus. If we pay attention a little bit to the setting and chronology of Jesus' activities, we notice that all moments and places are moments and places for his ministry. Ministry of doing good, of preaching the good news. There was no specific or special place for this. Absolutely any place where he was, any moment of preaching the good news. He called his first disciples, for example, on the shore of Galilee, in the place of their work, because they were fishermen. He did not wait to meet them at the synagogue, but there in the very place of his work, of their work. Also, he went to the synagogue and taught there with authority over unclean spirits, and he cured them, expelling out these evil spirits from persons inhabited by these unclean spirits. Then he went to Peter's home, where he would heal his mother-in-law, who was sick. And it says there that at the door, it's just simply points there, at the door, probably the door of Peter's house, where the sick, the possessed with demons, gathered there to be healed by Jesus. So, places, every place where Jesus was. No, every moment was a moment to perform his ministry. In today's gospel, we heard that early morning, Jesus went to a deserted place to pray, to commune with his Father. While there was a demand for his service for people in need, he was also concerned of proclaiming the message of God, of the good news, to other places. So we see that in Jesus, his whole life has been permeated by the sole concern of bringing God's kingdom into a reality in the lives of people. He met and proclaimed the good news to them and his salvation and of God's mercy by liberating them from those that enslave them, by healing them, all these moments of his life can be seen as always open to his Father. And he did all this for his Father's glory and for the salvation of his brothers and sisters. Christian life, too, is characterized by this radical openness to Christ at every moment and at every circumstance of our life. There is no dichotomy between the Sunday of our worship to God and the weekdays of our work and engagement in daily human life. For these moments, these times have been permeated by God's Spirit and God's grace with the coming of His Son as a human being like us. One difficulty we see in our Christian life is our tendency to separate, to dichotomize our lives. Sunday and moments of prayer are for God, while other moments we do not see God's role anymore there. As one puts it jokingly, Sunday is for God and the other days are for me and for the devil, someone said, no? The dichotomy, the separation of our life of worship and our engagement, daily engagement with life. That's why there is a wide gap between one's piety and one's option in life. Pious and prayerful on the one hand, but greedy, self-centered, without moral principles on other aspects and moments of their life. If we look at the life and example of Jesus, there is that core that provided consistency in his life. And that is his preoccupation in doing God's will and the will of the Father and the realization of God's kingdom. So in his ministry of preaching, of healing, in his relating with others, it is always motivated by making God's reign visible in our midst. And that made consistent Jesus in his living and in his ministry. The question, therefore, that we should be asking also is, what is the core that sustains my life, that should give consistency also of my prayer, of my relationship with God, and also my options in life? It is quite perplexing at times that people who are so good, so generous, for example, very faithful in doing what is supposed to be the religious obligations, which is, of course, excellent, and it should be maintained. Yet, They cannot see the connection of this with their options. No? So our option for Christ, our option for the gospel, should lead us also to opt for those teachings of Christ, what Jesus stood for, like truthfulness, like selflessness, that should also be the principle that should illumine and guide our daily engagement in life. May our constant hearing of God's word, God's good news, lead us also to opt for those values and options of Christ to assist us and be our guide in our